Hello everyone, I Dr. Kirti Sahu welcome you all to the video lecture on Z transform. So we have studied about the various concepts of Z transform. So here I have come up with the topic where we will discuss the various multiple choice questions asked in the various competitive exams such as SET, NET, GATE, University and many more. So let us start with the first question. Z transform is used to solve differential equation, both A and B and none of this. So Z transform is applicable when we have a digital signal, right? And for a digital signal, the equation so modeled is called as a difference equation. So that's why out of the four choices given, the correct option is difference equation. Now next question is, what is the Z transform of a raised to n into f of n? So if you recall property of a Z transform, so there we have one of the property that is nothing but change of scale property. So according to change of scale property, what we do, we will find the Z transform of this f of n, that is f of z, and after getting f of z, we just replace that z by a, right? So that's why this is nothing but a change of scale property. So we need to write the correct option, that is nothing but option number A. So option A is this correct one. If I'll compare it with the Laplace transform, so note that here there is no multiplication with 1 by a, right? Generally Z transform and Laplace transform are studied on a parallel lines, right? So here this note must change must be noted, right? Here there is no 1 by a, right? So in order to confuse that is this option number C is given, right? So here there should not be any multiplication with 1 by a. Now then, what is the Z inverse of 1? So sometimes people as and when they watch 1 over here, so they directly write that is Z upon Z minus 1. So remember, it is not the Z transform, it is a Z inverse, right? Z inverse of 1. So what is that function whose Z transform is 1? So that is the only one unique function, that is a test signal, standard signal called as a unit impulse function, right? And that unit impulse function is denoted by delta of n. So therefore option number B is the correct one. Then the several ways to perform an inverse Z transform are, so we have seen there are so many ways to evaluate the Z transform. So let us see which are the correct choices out of the given options. So these are 4 methods given, and you just have, and in connection to that the 4 choices are given. This is 1, 2 and 3 are the only methods, 1 and 2 are the only methods to find out the inverse Z transform. So let us go through these methods one by one. Convolution theorem is applicable. Yes, we can perform the inverse Z transform operation by using long division method. Then partial fraction is the universal method to find out the inverse Z transform as well as the Laplace transform. Then we have a residue method also in addition. So all the 4 methods helps us to get the inverse Z transform. So that is given in the option number D, that is all the 4 are correct. So that's why option D is the correct one. Now let us have the next question, that is Z transform of the time function u of n is. So Z transform, so in order to get the answer of this, one should remember a simple relation. What is that? That is Z transform of unit step function is same as Z transform of 1. So you just have to remember the formula of Z transform of 1, that is nothing but Z upon Z minus 1. In order to confuse the candidates or the participants, such options will also be given. But if you remember the formula correctly, so definitely you will be able to choose the correct option, right? So option C is the correct one. Then Z inverse of 1 upon Z minus 2 is, so here inverse of such functions is asked. So whenever we come across such type of evaluations, right, where we cannot have the inverse Z transform by a list of formulae or something else, so we have to make use of the property of Z transform, that is this one, which can be written for the inverse Z transform like this, that is the inverse Z transform of Z to the power minus k into f of z is f of n minus k into u of n minus k, right? So we have to express this given function 1 upon z minus 2 in this form, where we have a product of 2 functions, out of which one is a function f of z for which we can get the inverse easily by making use of the least of formulae. So let us write this in that form. I don't know what is the inverse of 1 upon z minus 2. So but we know that in almost all the formulae of z transform we find z in the numerator, right, in the standard list of formulae. So here z is missing. So first of all, let us adjust z just by multiplying and dividing by z. So now it is in the compatible form for which we can get the inverse easily by making use of list of formulae. So let us denote this as f of z. So we have the inverse of this, which is denoted by f of n. So that is 2 raised to n. Now the next thing that we have to do is this one. This is nothing but in the form z raised to power minus k, which I can write as z to the power minus 1. So on comparing we get k as 1. So we have the value of f of n as well as we have k as 1. So just put in this formula. So we want f of n minus k. So in this formula just replace n by n minus 1. What you will get is 2 raised to n minus 1. And then into u of n minus 1. So that's how the inverse of this particular function is evaluated. But if you find that in the option such choices are not given, neither the option given is none of this, right? So you have to select the correct option out of these 4 choices given. So if you will discard for the time being this unit step function, so what we find here is u of n z 2 raised to power n minus 1. So that is option number B. So that's why out of the given option we will take the option number B as a correct option. So let us move to the next question, that is z transform of 1 upon n factorial. So if you remember, while dealing with while deriving with the standard formulae for z transform, this one is considered as the one of the standard formula, that is z transform of 1 upon n factorial is nothing but e raised to power 1 by z, right? So that's why option A. So in most of the cases what you will find that just remembering the list of formulae of z transform will help you to get the answer and the z transform of properties as well. Then the next question is z transform is the discrete version of. So if you remember, the z transform is studied in the way similar to the Laplace transform, with a slight change that Laplace transform is applicable for a continuous signal, whereas that is analog signal, whereas z transform is applicable for a digital signal. So that's why z transform is the discrete version of what? The Laplace transform. So option C is the correct one. Now then next is set of all values of z for which f of z attains a finite value is called. So obviously f of z exists for those values of z is called as the region of convergence, right? So this is the definition of region of convergence, that is all values of z for which f of z exists. Okay, exist means takes the finite value is called the region of convergence. Here region of convergence is not mentioned, but the word radius is mentioned, so radius is also considered, right? So radius of convergence, hence option is A. Then z transform of finite duration signal. So here a sequence is given where this notation indicates that this is the signal at 0th position, right? That is when n is equal to 0. So we have to find out the z transform of this sequence. How to get this? So this is for n equal to 0. So obviously 5 into what we write? We write according to z transform, f of n is 5, z to the power 0, that is 5 into z to the power 0 is 1. So we have 5. Then on the left hand side of this the n takes negative values, whereas on the right hand side of this n takes positive values. So in this formula we will put let us take values on the right hand side. So it is after 5 on the right hand side we have 6, right? So we will write 6, then z to the power minus, n takes the positive value, so minus 1. So we have 6 z raised to power minus 1, then next plus 0, so it vanishes, then plus next term is 1, then at that time n takes the value 3, so z to the power minus 3. So these are for values on the right hand side. Similarly we will have the values on the left hand side where n takes the negative value, right? N takes the value minus 1, minus 2, like this. So we will put just left to this the first value, that is 4, then z to the power minus of n is minus 1, so minus of minus 1 plus 1, so we have plus 1. then plus 2 times z to the power, now n is taking minus 2, so minus of minus 2 plus 2, like this. So if you look at these 4 options, so option number A is correct. So don't get confused. Remember, on the left hand side n takes the value minus 1, on the right hand side n takes the value plus 1. Just make the make use of formula of Z transform. Over here f of n means these values, and just go on putting the value of n, right, according to the sequence given. So sometimes people may get confused that B is the correct one. So B is not the correct one. Okay, just make use of Z, this definition of Z transform properly. So A is the correct option. Okay. So I hope these set of problems you will find helpful to crack the exams, various competitive exams. If you find it worth watching, do like, share and subscribe. Thank you all for watching the video.